Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. How are you?
I'm well. How are things in your world?
Going very well. Welcome back, everybody. Two Women in Crypto. Another episode.
Two women in crypto. Two women in the world, right? Here we are.
Oh my goodness. Another week of so much news. So I'm so glad we're meeting today to kind of like pull in some of everything that's going on, right? And zoom out and let's look at the overall picture, because there's a lot going on and so much of it makes sense to me because I've been studying this for years, and I could see other people either, you react one of two ways. You're either panicked or you're so excited because it's going to go down, the market's going to go down even more, and now it's life-changing wealth opportunity.
I know, that's what we were just talking about. I mean, I'm looking at it 11 weeks in a row. 11 out of the 12 weeks, the 12 past weeks have been red on the Bitcoin chart. And I'm like, oh boy, there's this is exciting. Our patience will pay off. All along, though, I'm still dollar cost averaging in, but still, it's unprecedented times for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw too that the market actually dropped, the total market cap dropped under $1 trillion for the first time. I mean, in the bull market, I think we hit 3 trillion.
Yep.
So it's a lot of money missing from the market. A lot of money
missing. Yep. Hey, before we tap into all the news that you are so amazing at bringing for us, thank you so much. Let's just touch base on a few things that are coming up for us. We have our monthly Q&A. It's going to be the 25th of June. Here's the last Saturday of every month. That's a $10 fee, but come in. Everybody's welcome. It's a great opportunity to kind of connect with community and ask any questions that may be lingering in your mind, and we'll do our best to address those. And then also we have a class in July 16th, which is the overview of the central banking system, which I'm super excited about because we're really talking about doing a deep dive into financial literacy. And I mean, for someone like you who's been really diving deep into it forever, it's something that you've really enjoyed. Your knowledge has been extraordinarily helpful for others. So this couple of things of what's going on in the back end for Two Women in Crypto. Would love to see you in both of those, either of them or what have you.
Yeah. And July is going to be a great month. And it's really, I just want to drive this point home too. As the market continuously is dipping down, and like Kelly said, she started dollar cost averaging, I dollar cost averaged as well. And it's kind of to take some extra time out and really research, what are your top coins? Listen to as many people as you can, because Kelly and I talk about this all the time. I listen to people, I don't necessarily agree with what they say or how they present information, but it's I'm gathering knowledge, so I do my own research.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when people have super strong opinions about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, whatever it is, it's you do your own research, because I listen to people and they talk about the stock market and all these things. And I'm just we're not really trading stocks, right? We really, you know what I mean? And I know Kelly and I have talked about this. We're really moving into a new economy that's leveraged by technology.
It is. Absolutely. It's kind of intimidating to think about that, right? And that's where I think people are like, oh, no way. But yeah, that's exactly where we're at.
Yeah. So unless you have an IT background or you've spent probably a couple of years doing deep dives into this technology, into the programming platforms and how it's going to disrupt society as a whole, right? I mean, we focus on financials because we talk about cryptocurrency, but our society is going to change, our governance is going to change over time. This, and so I just kind of want to drive that point home because sometimes, like, I'll get triggered when people are just like, they'll say something so outrageous and it's kind of like clickbait, right? It's like, well, come and, listen to what I have to say. And I think like the best people out there are like, look, we did this research. We want to share this with you. You go do your own research.
Oh,
Like,
it's hugely important,
yeah,
right?
super important.
Especially right now where there's people, a lot of people's lives have been altered gravely
Yeah.
in some of the current situations that have been taking place. And you can't fault those that have been talking about specific projects and bringing it to our attention because it always comes down to our own due diligence. Absolutely. So we can offer insights, but it's always our own responsibility to tap in and follow projects that we do choose to get into.
No, it's such a good point, and things change, right?
They do.
Because everyone knows I was a huge proponent of Celsius. I listened to Alex Mahensky every Friday at 1 o'clock, and now it's like we don't even know if he's a good guy. So, we don't know if people are going to get their money back. And we were lucky enough because you started hearing rumors. I did a deep dive, and then I made that call like 2 weeks before Celsius went down. But not everybody got the message. And,
Right.
I feel bad, because I was recommending that platform. And, we do the best we can. And that's why we always diversify. And when things like this, we're not in a bull market. Now we're going into like a bear market and we're getting regulatory clarity. And when you hear these folks say 90 to 99% of these projects are going to go away, it's, you gotta, right? Like,
Yeah.
who's going to get regulatory clarity?
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
happens? Yeah, like what happens if a project can't go to the CFTC or the SEC to get a license to do business? Now, are they creating counterfeit money? Is that money going to be illegal to use? These are,
Yeah.
and this can really affect 90 to 99% of people that aren't in Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? Because those are the only two right now that have regulatory clarity. They both, everyone says they're a commodity, whether we agree with it or not. Those are the only two.
Yeah. And that's pretty sobering when you think of there's being 20,000 crypto projects plus out there on the market. And we know a majority of those are, I hate to use it, just projects. They're whims. I mean, you can create your own crypto project in a heartbeat. It doesn't take much at all to
Yeah.
create something. So, and you're going to find all kinds of interesting things out there. But when it's a sobering fact when you just continue to hit that notion home that those are the only two that have regulatory, you know, clarification at this point. But that's what that's why we're going through all of this. And by the way, good morning, Hope. Hope's in the room. Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Hope.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like, I feel like I've been in like really deep thought because I don't know, like, I don't know what would happen to like a project, like take Pulse Chain, for example. Like, what would happen if they don't get the whole point of Pulse Chain? It's a political action against what's going on. And I get that people are putting their money up, but what happens if they don't get clarity? What happens if
right.
we don't know? And that's like we take a risk, and there's risk reward, and I'm all about Pulse Chain and Hex and everything, and we diversify, right?
Yeah.
Because I do own Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I love the ISO 222 tokens, and I do believe they're going to have regulatory clarity. We're going to have stablecoin, clarity at. I think Senator Gillibrand from New York. She said by the end of the year, she's feeling pretty hopeful about stablecoin, not the big bill that went in, but
Hmm.
a stablecoin bill will pass. And Kelly and I were talking before the podcast, and we're like, who they want to choose. You know who the winner is. So what's going to happen to Tether, right?
Right. Yeah, Tether's the one. Tether is that. It's, think of that. It's like they're just hanging on a string. I mean, certainly not suggesting or encouraging everybody to go out there
No.
and bail from it, but I do think you need to lean into it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Everyone.
absolutely lean into it. It's
Yeah.
not if I don't hold anything in USDT, USDC or BUSD is anything that I'm holding in terms of any type of stable coin. I might trade with Tether if I need to make a trade because that's obviously one of the major trading pairs, but I don't hold anything in Tether. And I think that's just a good rule of thumb right now.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because if Tether depegs, Bitcoin's price will tumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of what's going on right now, and Kelly, you were a commodities trader for so long, like what's happening, right? Like
Yeah.
like we look at Celsius. Okay, let's just first look at Celsius. So Alameda Research sold at least 50,000 ETH. At least 50,000 ETH. So what happens is now Celsius has a liquidity issue because this huge company took money and Celsius is leveraged.
Yeah.
So they have to pay out the ETH, and then they have to, the prices are going down at the same time, and they have loans out against our money to make money to pay us the interest that they pay, and that's all going down. And then they have to do a margin call, right? So they have to put up more money so they don't get liquidated as a company, and then bad things happen, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's kind of spiraling out of control, and now we have Three Arrows Capital, who is a huge hedge fund investor, and they're heavily invested into Celsius. So now they're having liquidity issues, and when you hear liquidity issues, it just means they don't have any money, right?
Right.
Um, so I know one of the famous YouTubers, his name is BitBoy, he contacted Celsius and he was like, I want to pay my loan off. And they were like, okay, but you have to give us new money and not the money that's on your Celsius account. So what does that tell us? They don't
That's a
have
cautionary. Yeah, they don't have anything. They don't have anything in
they
the
don't have any
bank.
they don't
No,
have any money. They don't
they
have
don't have
any
any
money.
money.
Now that's not to say that Celsius won't get the money and start paying people back. And if they do that, that's great morals, and that's, I think that that's for for him to stand by his word, because this whole time he's like, I'm for the 99%, I'm for the 99%, not the
Right.
1%. So let's see what he does, because words are cheap,
Oh,
it's all
undoubtedly,
action.
especially in, yeah, trying times. I mean, people make rash decisions. I mean, yeah, the environment people can make really rash decisions. I'm not saying that I don't condone any of the immoral choices that do take place, especially when they're detrimental to so many people. It's an unfortunate situation for anybody to be in,
Yeah, for
and
sure, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, and I looked it up. I mean, Celsius had 1.7 million users on their platform.
yeah. It's impacted a lot. It's really been falling soldiers.
Fallen soldiers, and like for right now, it's like it's just really good to just start. I mean, again, like almost all of our money should be on our hardware wallet at this point until, it's kind of like, I think I saw someone tweet out, it's like the cleansing of cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't know who the winners, we know some of the winners, but we don't know like what exchanges are going to win, what stable coins are going to win. It's looking really good for USDC. USDC was created by Circle. The CEO is Jeremy Allaire. If you want to look him up, they made an announcement yesterday. They're expanding into Europe, and they're going to do the digital euro.
Hmm. Okay, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm. And Circle uses Ethereum platform, but they're also going to be bridging with Stellar and Algorand and a bunch of other tokens.
Yeah,
So
good news.
that's really good to see. And like I think this is going to be like such a big year that we're going to start to see like some of these payment rails, with these ISO 222 tokens kind of like bridge out, especially while Ethereum is having high gas issues. And even like I don't know if you saw, so Ethereum is going through proof of work to proof of stake, and they're going to do that. They were going to do it by August, and again, it's such a big project that these projects are always delayed. So
Right, always.
right, so the project's now delayed, I think, until like September, October. So let's just say, what a great opportunity to just start slowly accumulating some ETH. Not financial advice. I think ETH can go down so much more, so much more. Like we're talking $700-800. Like who
Yeah.
knows, right? Who knows?
Yep.
Um, but again, it's like once it moves over and it's not going anywhere, right? I mean, Ethereum is already adopted by these very large enterprise level financial institutions. I don't think they're going to let Ethereum fail, even with all their problems, just because it's being used everywhere.
Well, and prior to our beginning of this podcast, we're talking about the Bitcoin halving, but you were also alluding to, do you want to step into that a little bit about Ethereum and what that might look like?
Yeah, because there's a lot of speculation going on, in the market about when Ethereum actually converts from proof of work to proof of stake. Like every 4 years, Bitcoin goes through a halving. There's speculation that the inflation rate is going to drop so much that Ethereum will go through, and they're calling it a triple halving.
Hmm. Yeah, that
So
could be really interesting.
right. So it's kind of like, one, I think Ethereum's going to win. Two, I think Ethereum's price is going to go down a lot. And three, they will eventually merge into a proof of stake. So when that happens, if the inflation rate goes down and it goes into a triple halving, it'll be like a one-time event where Ethereum's market cap will grow so much it could actually compete with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Even if it's short term, but it could. It very much could. So, that gets me motivated to start like
Oh
collecting.
yeah, for sure.
collecting.
Yeah. Just patience, will you, as the
Well,
Red Sea parts.
and it's so funny too, because I'm just like, when you're in a bull market, right? You're like, I don't want to miss out. I don't want to miss out. So you're buying Bitcoin at like 40,000, 50,000, and now that it's 20 grand, you're like, is it going to go down to 10? Should I buy or should I wait? But like, I don't
Yeah.
really think there's a bad time. You can't predict the bottom, even though it does look like we're really going to. I think one more big event, because everyone's telling us there's going to, Celsius
Well,
isn't the
yeah.
big Lehman moment for crypto, even though it's
Well,
big.
and the real estate market hasn't been hit quite yet. And that's the last, I mean, it's like you've
Yeah.
got your stocks, you've got the crypto market, and the real estate market really is going to be next. And I'm not saying I have a crystal ball. None of us do. We all wish we did. But I think I mean, if you look at the escalation in the real estate pricing and everything else, it's going to have a correction just like everything else, just to keep things on par, if you want to look at it that way. And I think that that's next. And I think with that, the market will again do another, when that really tumbles, it'll really again affect everything across the board, because cyclically that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see it kind of already starting to happen,
Yeah.
right? Because mortgage rates are over 6% already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For a 30-year fixed mortgage, over 6%. So, that's definitely high. And I'm really glad you brought up the real estate market because, you know, what was it like? Who knows how many months ago we're talking about, Evergrande, and they collapsed. And if
In
real estate
China.
in China,
Yeah.
so if real estate is next, what's going on with Evergrande, and how much tether is in Evergrande? Because
That's a good point.
that was something we were talking, right? And you just like light bulb went off.
Yeah.
So again, I could still see, but at the same time, it's like, can you imagine if Bitcoin went down to like 5 grand? right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Oof. I
oh,
agree.
you
I
know,
agree. It's like, my goodness. I mean, look at historically again, look at the charts. You mention it every podcast. We're always touching on it. We're at that point of the .com, as you know, that bubble. You know, this is all very historical series of events that's taking place. So again, that's why we're here, not financial advice, but we just want you guys to lean into really, this is the biggest transfer of wealth ever, ever.
I mean, I feel, I mean,
That's the way I view it. So
yeah, it's pretty intense, you know? I
yeah.
mean, it's going to be unbelievable to see like all these wealthy people get just so extremely wealthy. And like, and again, it's just like, I believe that Luna had, you know, they had inefficiencies, they were vulnerable to attack. Obviously, Celsius was over leveraged, but who brought them down?
Uh,
It wasn't retail investors, you know. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, who knows, right? But like Alameda Research, it's backed by FTX. You know, just you always want to just do some like basic research and see how these companies are like connected. It's very interesting, and you know, selling over 50,000 ETH, like where's the law against that? Like, how is that protecting the retail investor?
Very good point, right?
You know, and to destabilize Ethereum like that too, because like now Celsius has to go and sell its staked ETH. So there, and so that created a depegging of staked ETH, which is ST ETH. You can look it up, and it's less than what one Ethereum is trading for, and it's supposed to be pegged 1 to 1.
Yeah.
So, you know, and those are like really, that's what makes everybody like so nervous, and you just want to wait and wait and wait. But it's, again, it's like when I look at adoption and I look at the adoption curve, and I'm just like, okay, so what Kelly just said, it's like, this is the .com bust. All these companies like pets.com and all these companies went out of business. We're going to probably see like over leveraged hedge fund companies go out of business, venture capitalist company go out of business. I mean, we got Luna, we got, you know, Celsius, like who kind of who's next? Like Nexo and BlockFi, they do the same thing that Celsius does. Is Nexo and BlockFi over leveraged?
Yeah.
You know, so these are, yeah, so these are just some of the things that, and once all of the cleansing, like they said on Twitter, happens, that's when we're going to see the bottom. And it should be the same time that the Fed inflation under control. Let's hold off on raising rates. But
Yep.
with that said, like, you know, I told you, Kelly, like I watched the Fed meeting. They raised the rates 0.75 basis points, which is the highest rate raise since 1994.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so now it's like we have the next meeting is, I believe, don't quote me, July 27th or July 26th, one of those days. That's when they're going to raise rates again. Okay, so
Yeah.
we want to look at this, and in all honesty, like I want inflation to come down. I'd rather see like the crypto market come down, because high inflation hurts poor people. It hurts,
Oh, yeah. It's
you know,
tough.
it hurts everyone. But like think about like if you only have X amount of dollars to live on per month, and everything like doubles, like gas has doubled, our food has doubled, like you know, you're living on your credit card, and what happens when your credit card is maxed?
Right. I mean, it's a really vicious circle for,
Yeah,
you know, the majority of the population. It's a tough situation. It's a very tough situation. It's tough for everybody. There's not anybody that's being untouched. So,
right. No, I mean it
yeah.
affects everybody, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and
Yeah,
again,
but for a lot of people, just to get, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, instead of going out to dinner, instead of getting that coffee, dollar cost average, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the time where people make all their wealth. It's when the market's down.
Yeah.
You know, like most people who do margin and like leverage trading, you know, most people who do that lose money. it's the investors that buy low and hold, or just dollar cost average. Like even if you dollar cost average from bottom to top, all the way back down to the bottom, that's it. You're usually a very successful investor.
Yeah, much, because when you're doing the leverage trading, you're in it and you're stuck in the emotion. You're like, oh, I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out. It's going to get,
Yeah.
well, you know what? It's going to kick your hiney. It can kick your hiney. That's what these moves do. It shakes out the weak. And
Oh,
not to be critical, because
yeah.
I completely get it. I've been there. Completely get it. But it shakes out, you know, and there's choices we all have to make, right? Too. It's like, anyway, we're weathering the storm.
Yeah, we're weathering the storm. And again, like I'm so excited. Like we'll have an article posted below, but like JP Morgan came out, I think it was like a year or two ago, and just talked about overall adoption of the cryptocurrency market, and kind of like, how it's going to be like economically like advantageous for us, right? So we're going to be looking at a couple of different sectors. Like I think this year is going to be the year of like we talked about this before, like scalability, interoperability. All of the
Hmm.
main chains like Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, Avalanche, Solana, they're all going to build out these bridges, and they're all going to start to connect. And once that happens, we'll really be able to really start sending a lot of value through the internet.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Which is really cool. And when we look at like specific industries that are going to get disrupted, we're talking the banking industry. We've brought up articles
Oops.
about, oh, that's okay. I like that background with the moons. But we talked about the banking system and how we're moving over to a new banking system called open banking, right? So it's going to be like the digitization of our banking system, like cross border payments. Um, we're going to be seeing digitized healthcare. Okay, so our healthcare industry is going digital, and even our supply chain, logistics, it's all going to be going like digital, because data is the most valuable asset in the world. And as of now, they've been collecting our data, like all these companies like Google and Amazon, and they've been monetizing it through algorithms and machine learning. And hopefully, in the new system, we're going to get compensated for it, and then have a choice to have a decentralized ID, which is another 2022 JP Morgan said it's the year of like, a digitized ID. So
Yeah.
hopefully that won't happen, because again, we can make all these predictions and we always know it takes a lot longer than what they say. Especially when
Yeah.
you're talking about creating a whole new paradigm. This is a brand new way of life for everyone, you know?
And and they write here basically, which is what we've been saying, by 2030 we will really have the baseline. All the train tracks will have been laid probably by 2030. And
Yeah.
that'll be really the implementation of that next step. Everything will be in place by then. So,
Yeah, and what was really cool, because even in JP Morgan's article, like if you scroll all the way down to the end, and I gave you two, so you don't have to bring it up, but we'll
okay.
post them. We'll post them, in the podcast. Um, After 2030, the next step is decentralization of everything.
Mm,
It's on JP Morgan. So, like I said, and I've said this from the beginning, as much as it looks like we're losing our rights and everything is getting centralized, and it is, because they want all the control, it doesn't mean they're going to get it. But there's going to be like a breaking point, and then we're going to have like everything will be decentralized, which will be super cool.
holding on for that.
I know, it's so exciting. I mean, I'm really excited for it. And I wrote something down just for you, since like we're talking about the future. I want to know if you know what this is, because this was so cool. Have you ever heard of meta material? Totally random. I'm making a left hand turn here.
No, I love left turn. I'm the master of left-hand turns. No, I have not. Meta material.
Metamaterial. Everybody, look this up, okay? Metamaterial is going to allow us to have an invisibility cloak, just like
Oh,
Harry Potter.
nah, I already have one. God dang it. No, I'm just kidding. Really? Oh, for good. Oh, interesting. So tell me more. What else do you know about it? This is interesting.
It's programmable matter that's the size of an atom.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of like run by nanobots, which I'm not a fan of. But again, like, who cares what I want? Because it's not happening, folks. Right. So through these like programmable nanobots, it can actually, yeah, it can create you can actually create material. They say you can create a city in minutes through metamaterial. Like, so when we think about the future, they were even saying, like, say you're driving your car. Well, I don't know if we'll be driving, but let's just say we're driving our car and we get into an accident. The car will be able to fix itself through this new technology. Boom. So cool. So flipping cool. And we'll also have, like, it'll enhance 3D printers. So, like, say you need a new lung, you just print one.
I'm sitting here gnawing on
You're
my
like, oh my God, oh my God. And this is
right,
future. I'm not talking 2030. But
right,
I
right.
definitely want an invisibility cloak.
Yeah. I in my mind already have one. So see, I walk around with an invisibility cloak all the time. Nobody can see me. What are you looking at? You can't see me. Are you crazy? They look at me like I'm the crazy one. But anyway,
But
oh my gosh,
I wanted to share that with you because I knew you'd get a kick out of
I
it.
do. That's awesome.
Metamaterial. Here comes the metamaterial.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God.
Well, I
The,
mean, those just real quick, just
yeah,
because we had a left turn, I'm just going to stay
yeah,
there for just another moment because, that 3D printing thing is pretty interesting, right? What they've been able to do. And what I love about the 3D printing aspect is that they're really, and those that are using it for the highest and best good are changing really people's lives. Like I was reading an article about how 3D printing is changing the lives of children that are born without limbs, and they can create really cool extra limbs that look like a Lego or whatever the case may be. So there's some really cool things that can
so,
happen. Now
so
that's just one piece. Of course, there's a much greater conversation which you just brought in, but there are some really amazing things that are happening with the use of technology,
yeah, yeah.
bettering a lot of people's lives.
And it's just so nice to see too, because like I think we can all agree that our current healthcare system is just not really serving
Right.
people. But like, with the new technology, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's, like having meta beds and like just all these like wonderful new technologies that are coming out. It's if
Yeah.
used correctly, and I believe that eventually we will make the world a better place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
We
gonna be
just choose
futuristic and awesome. It's
we
like,
just choose which piece we're going to participate in. It's personal choice. So,
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I know. Oh, and everyone should look up Joby Cars, Joby. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but they received FAA approval, which is like flight approval, to be like a driverless Uber in major cities. And I believe the launch is 2024, and it's a
mm,
publicly traded stock. I'm not making this up.
yeah.
Joby. And just imagine going from rooftop to rooftop in New York City and landing in your little helicopter.
Well,
I
we were
know,
having this
I know.
conversation last night because I was like, what really it really is an interesting thing. I used to walk through the woods a couple years ago. I'd be in the middle of the woods and I would feel like I could hear the electric engine, the electric, cars, that sound, which is really, it rattles me a little bit. And I would be out in the middle of nowhere. And I swear to God, I could hear them like whizzing by me. Yeah, here's Kelly showing up in her authenticity. But as I walk now, I mean, the sounds of these electric vehicles. So we were talking last night that, what, I feel like we're living in the Jetsons, right? And that's what the Jetsons was, hopping from place to place in their little, you know,
No,
that's
it's
where
so
we're going.
yeah, it's so true. And I'm hoping, because like a couple years ago, I think I read it in a book, so not online, but like they were talking about how like technology right now is like so static, and it affects us, right? It affects our mind, it affects our mood. But once the technology just kind of incorporates into everything, like that static should just go away. Like there should
Sure.
reach a certain point, because I think about like, we're going to be able to pull up holograms and like the way like,
Yeah.
children are going to be living or learning. It's going to be so different. And Minecraft came out with a 1 hour free coding. If anyone has children who are interested in coding, it's a coding class by Minecraft, and I know a lot of kids are into that game, so that could be like a good way to learn, just to introduce kids about coding, because those are the jobs of the future. And
Oh, absolutely.
I was with teachers yesterday and I was like, are you guys learning or teaching anything about the blockchain? And they were like, no. So we're really far behind. So it's up to
Yeah.
the parents and the community to come together and educate the children so that, so they're okay, like moving forward. Because if we're not technologically literate, I don't see this working out. Right. So
Oh,
we
no,
have
I
to,
couldn't agree with you more. I mean,
yeah.
there's going to be a huge division of society, those that are fully enmeshed or aware, not necessarily enmeshed, and those that didn't want to learn, don't want to learn, find it too intimidating to learn or change their thought process. I completely agree.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and again, it's
Yeah.
definitely a learning curve, and and like I know, like as a human being, like I don't really like change. I don't want change, but we have to change because the world is changing, and that's really the only constant thing in life, right? We always hear this: it's change.
Yeah.
So yeah, the world is definitely
The
changing.
world is definitely changing.
I mean, yep, and that's the whole thing too. It's like like when we think about Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP, like don't even think of it as money. It's just a programming language. Like when you download your favorite app on your phone, somebody programmed that to 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 allow you to download that app, to play that game, to order that computer, or order anything on Amazon. Anything that we do is programmed, and that's all XRP, Bitcoin, it's just a programming language. You know what I mean? That's code.
Oh, absolutely. I was having this conversation this week as well, and the reality is though, as much as we're landlocked to some degree by the use of our computers, our worlds will be managed by apps, applications. Everything will be an application. Eventually, I mean, eventually the desktops and things of that nature, they'll be shifting and it will be done on smaller and smaller devices. So app run versus, everything else. So it's really an interesting time.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And again, it's like, and what makes that app successful?
All the
It's
codes. Yeah, it's all
all
the
the
coding.
code, and it's all the network effect. So
Yep, absolutely.
what makes Bitcoin successful? It's the network effect. What makes Ethereum successful? It's the network effect. And you're building and doing things, but it's still really like Facebook is, or Meta. I mean, I think Meta's going to zero too, by the way. Everyone's quitting. but like Meta or Facebook became super famous and everyone used it, and it became valuable because of the network effect.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Period.
So, and that's really all, when we, in a simpler term, but like when we think about blockchain, we think about some of the projects and people are like, it doesn't do anything. It does. It's just, you don't understand. Right. I think that's really what it is. And we all don't. So we just need to get educated. Like not everyone's an IT recruiter for 25 years and developing things. So
Right. We
yeah.
all come in with our own knowledge base, but like you said earlier, if we're not willing to learn, then we might as well be 6 feet under. That's the way I look at it. I'm always seeking for more knowledge and a deeper understanding of truths and things of that nature.
Right. And that's why I think it's so important. Like when we think about code and we think about all the different problems that are going on, like in the cryptocurrency sphere, if something were to happen, like in Europe, and they were pushing people to get a digital ID, No, the cybersecurity is not good enough for anyone, in my opinion, to have a digital ID. Not with all the hacks of the code, right? You're hacking into the code and you're changing it, you know? So it's we're not there yet, which kind of gives me some comfort. So hopefully, in the next couple of years, these systems are going to mature and become more and more decentralized as they grow in a network effect, right? Like Bitcoin started with one person and now it has over 13,000 nodes. Same thing with these other companies. They started with small amount of nodes, computer networks that connect, and there'll be hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands, and it'll become completely decentralized. And I thought that was cool that JP Morgan could actually see that, even though back in the day they didn't believe in any of it and would fire someone for holding Bitcoin. I mean, these people are very, very manipulative, you know. So it's just good. Just
Yeah.
coming back to Two Women in Crypto, we're always going to tell you guys the truth. That's the thing. And
Well, we do our best. We're
yeah,
showing
we
up
do our
like in
best.
our left
Yeah,
turns and right turns about just sharing what's on the docket for conversation in the moment. So our
yep,
focus is
yep,
just peeling back the layers, lots
yep.
of them.
Yeah. So with that said, so since the Fed raised rates and the economy goes into cycles, we saw a lot of layoffs this week, right, Kelly?
Yeah, a lot. A
Yeah.
lot. And interestingly enough, there's two in the crypto sphere that are hiring, and everybody else seems to be laying off. And who are those?
Ripple and Binance.
Yep, they're
So
hiring.
you know what else? Like, because when we were talking about this and we were talking about layoffs, I'm so curious to see. I wonder how many companies, Ripple and Binance, and maybe even like Stellar, like mergers and acquisitions,
Mm,
baby. Like when these companies are having, liquidity issues and the market keeps going down, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like what's going to happen? What's
Yeah.
going to happen? You know?
They're looking, I'm sure there's quite a few people out there looking for some buoys of safety somewhere. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's a
think
good
I
point.
think we're going to see. It just makes sense, to save to save like the good companies that have good code, good products. Save those and yeah. But yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
Coinbase took what, an 18% hit. So almost 20% of their workforce got laid off. So 1,100 people got laid off at Coinbase, and what BlockFi was 20%.
Some big hits.
Yeah, Crypto.com not so bad. I think they were at 5%.
Yeah, not nearly as tough, but it was also interesting too on the Coinbase. And I'm certainly not, well, I don't, I'm not saying that I'm attacking anybody, but I mean, they had a whole series of events that kind of just started their, a couple of strikes against them when they announced, that your funds could be liquidated if we needed. There was this, it was like this very, stepping stone of decline. Not to say that Coinbase is null and void. I'm not, I'm by no means an expert on it. But I don't hold anything in Coinbase.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And and again, it's hard to see like Coinbase going bankrupt, and we've
they're
gone
huge.
we've gone through bear markets before, like you think about, some of the exchanges are newer, but you look at like the top crypto projects, and again, like we've always talked about it, just look to see how well they're funded, how diversified their money is, what problems they're solving. Like, we obviously know that Ripple and Binance are in a good situation. The CEO of Binance said, he's like, you didn't see us like supporting a Super Bowl commercial or anything like that. And Coinbase did. Crypto.com did. They spent a lot of money in marketing, and,
Yeah,
we get excited. Like everyone in the crypto industry gets excited. And it's just, we're still an immature market. It's
yeah,
going to grow. It is the future of finance. But again, it's like we're talking a couple of years, Um,
yeah,
but again,
absolutely.
once that bottom comes in, then the market goes up. We get higher highs and higher lows. So that's what we're looking for. But Jerome's going to keep raising the rates because inflation is too high. So
I wonder how he sleeps at night. I know it's not his fault, but I'm just saying. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And
Makes
again,
my heart pound.
like if you think about like someone like Jerome Powell, like his education, you know, I always tell people like television is telling you a vision through computer programming. Like pick the program you want to be, you know, pick the channel you want to be programmed by, right?
Yeah.
So Jerome Powell, like what was his life like? What did he learn? What was his you know what he's doing? I think he thinks he's doing the right thing. I don't think he's a bad person. I mean,
Right.
politicians are, you know, I mean, you know, but again, it's I don't think he's like a super, I don't think he's malicious, you know, I don't think he wants this wealth transfer to happen. But the way that the United States government or the Federal Reserve Bank and the way our monetary system was created, it's it's boom and bust cycles, folks. Look at the history of the S&P charts. You know, any trading chart, the stock goes up, it booms, it busts, it goes, you know, and it does this
Yep.
cycle over and over and over again. So, I mean, I'm definitely not worried. I'm definitely bummed about Celsius. I really hope people get their money back. And I hope that this is over and the rest gets like stabilized out, because Bitcoin can, the bottom for Bitcoin can be 20,000. Like if anyone knows anything about trading, it's like the 200 daily moving average, right? We're at that line now. But
Right.
but do we think more bad things are going to happen? I think so. I think Kelly thinks so.
Well, I tell so many people that I speak to, I'm like, I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly because that's not how I walk in the world, but I am trying to be somewhat pragmatic about the situation and just knowing historically what can happen. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of folks out there that are calling for 11,000 to be roughly. And if you look at, who knows? I don't know. Who knows?
No, and we can just look at like history, and I
Mhm.
think we talked about this too the other day. It's like if you take Bitcoin's all-time high was 69,000. 85% of 69,000 gives you a $12,000 Bitcoin.
Yep.
That's an 85% correction, and
Which is common.
that's it's crazy, right? It's so much money to just be wiped out, but it's common, and this is what it does. So,
And it's
you
part of
know,
the code. You're talking about coding. It is really part of the code of the market. There is a universal law, a code, a rhythm to it. And as much as we like to try to think that we can sway the rhythm, eventually the rhythm will, it's just the universal law of it, how it's going to move.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's it's the numbers. It's all the numbers, the
Yeah.
orchestration of the code.
Yep. And if we're looking at stable coin regulation by the end of the year, this bill, they're really probably going to work with it and try to get some form of it passed. That can take a year. It can take 18 months.
Yeah.
We don't know. It could take 2 years. It's the government. But we do know this. They keep telling us 90 to 99% of crypto will be wiped out. So I thought there was about 19,000 coins. 19,000 coins times 99% gives you 200 coins left. I want to put this in perspective. So
Yeah.
in bear markets, especially when we want a dollar cost average, for me, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm looking at all my top coins, and it's always a good time to start building your bags of Bitcoin and Ethereum, because again, it's a safer bet, and it's going to go up. It's already been adopted. It's not going
Yeah. I mean,
anywhere.
that's a sobering when you do the math. That
It's
200
yeah,
number is
yeah,
sobering. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yep.
all things to think about. But at the end of the day, remember what you own and know that we're moving into a new economy. And once ETFs get passed, and once more companies like Fidelity offer 401ks for not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but all the coins that get regulated, like look at the news surrounding Cardano. Like we're in a bear market, and Cardano, everything it's doing is touching gold right now. It's just they
Yeah.
took their time, and where Ethereum built things and now it's broken and now they have to fix it. Much harder to fix something that's already so adopted. It causes a lot more problems. Cardano took its time, did so much research, and they're not having
Tested their systems, right? Testing their systems, testing
exact
their
over
algorithms.
over and over. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
So
all making sure things are secure. Same thing that, Richard Hart is doing with the Pulse Network for those of anybody who's following that
Yep.
project, wanting to launch months ago, but not launching. I'm sure there's part of not launching until hopefully the market is closer to the bottom, but also being really clear that if somebody's going to launch something, the integrity is it's solid, it's unhackable. This is the infrastructure is ready to go. And that's key.
And that's why we should never be disappointed when these companies or these platforms delay. You'd rather have them delay than have like a Terra Luna on our hand or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yep. And again, it's like Cardano's trading at what, like 45, 50 cents?
Yeah, I think so. I've really just only been watching, honestly, Bitcoin this week. I've just been watching that, and XRP I've been watching, just looking to see what kind of swing trades there might be, opportunities. I stayed out of the market this week, but maybe, who knows? I mean, as far as taking a swing trade or something like that.
Yeah.
But even if you did go in for a swing trade, a completely left turn here, it's still dollar cost averaging, so you're still good.
It's exactly what we were talking about, right? Because I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like, if it goes down, I dollar cost average, and if it goes up, I'm doing a swing trade because I do think it'll go lower. I don't know. It might not. It might go back up to the moon. What do we know?
Yeah.
But,
it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we covered everything.
All right. Well,
Fantastic.
Always awesome. So just a couple of reminders. We have our Q&A on the 25th, the last Saturday of the month. And then, of course, we have our class about the overview of the U.S. banking systems. You can find all this on our website. We have a membership that is really awesome. It's just a great way for people to build community as well as get these amazing informative newsletters that Andrea writes monthly and things of that nature. So anyway, check out our website, give us likes. I'm not a big algorithm person. I don't really, but I get it. So liking, subscribing these videos helps us reach more people that are just like you, that are trying to understand what is happening out there in our ever-changing financial landscapes. And until then, as we always say,
until next week, hodl on.
Hodl on. Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldero and Kelly Lair. You'll find more information and details regarding the Two Women in Crypto membership, educational and informative class and event offerings, and more via their website, twowomenencrypto.com. Both Andrea and Kelly are available for speaking events and offer private consultations focused on helping individuals navigate the future. Until next time, hodl on.